Welcome to episode 6 of Potato Tomato. My name is Trenton, and I'm here with no one. We're in a Discord call. Today we have Cole, Ethan, Jack, and Gabe. We're going to be talking about how video games might cause violence. In my opinion, video games don't cause violence at all.
Hi, Gabe, and I also believe that video games really don't cause violence. I don't see how it could.
I'm Jack, and I think that video games don't cause violence, but people who are naturally more violent will be attracted to the violent video games, and that might be why there's a correlation that people see.
I am Cole, and I 100% agree with what Jack said. Exact same wording.
I am Ethan, and I agree with Jack too.
Now that we know everyone's opinions, let's have a discussion.
Okay, well, I guess first off is, how would you define a violent video game?
I would imagine people like... Oh, sorry. You can go, Gabe.
No, go ahead.
I feel like people define violent video games as games where you attack, injure, or kill other people. Or if you're PETA, it's if you... I don't know. But that's going to last episode.
Do we think, like, Fortnite, you're shooting people with guns, but there's no blood? Do we consider that
Fortnite
violent?
is violence, but
I
it's
guess
like
I've heard
fictional.
people
It's cartoon
consider-
violence.
Yeah,
But it's still under
Definitely a
the category.
difference between that
Yes.
and... Yeah. I feel like it shouldn't just be a category, it should be more of a spectrum. And I feel like Fortnite would be like lower on that spectrum in other games. I don't really play shooter games, but other
So it
games
would
would be
like
higher on the
Animal
spectrum.
Crossing at the bottom, and then like GTA at the top.
Yeah.
Just
Probably.
something like that.
But there are video games that are like violent and gory, and then there are video games that just have a violent premise or a goal that would require you to harm or kill other things.
yeah.
Yeah.
And there are even games like Minecraft where, I mean, you don't necessarily have to kill things, but it makes it easier.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Like killing animals for food.
Yes.
Yeah.
But
Or yes, like never mind.
no, you can go.
You can talk.
Never mind. Just
Okay.
So what were you saying, Jack?
Well, I was just gonna say that even though video games seem to be like more prominent now and it's a bigger part of children's lives, I feel like by the time you get to the age where you can understand video games, there are so many other factors that have cultivated your personality. I feel like one, even if you see Fortnite and you think it looks cool, I don't think that in and of itself could make you inherently more violent. I think your parenting, or how you're parented, your family life, your school life, there are so many things, what you watch on TV. I feel like there's so many different things that cultivate your personality, it's impossible to pin it to just one.
Yeah.
So that brings me up to another thing that I've been thinking about. Two things correlate. That doesn't always equal causation. So correlation doesn't always equal causation. So an example that when I was learning about this that my mom would use is that in areas where there are more ice cream sales, homicides are more likely. So most people would think, looking at that, they'd think, oh, that means higher ice cream sales mean higher homicides, which they do, but they're not directly tied. With some things, there's something that's in common between them that it's harder to find. The common link that is assumed to be connecting those two things are higher temperatures, because higher temperatures increase ice cream sales, which can also increase homicides. And it's not like the increased temperature for homicides has been observed in that one place, but it's been observed everywhere. Which I feel like it can be more than just three things. Like there could be a number of factors that are also playing into people who are play violent video games. Because maybe they're just drawn to them because of how they're marketed and things.
Yeah.
It could also be a peer pressure thing. Like now, you really, if you want to be quote unquote cool, you're supposed to not show your emotions as much, or at least try to act tough, I guess. And so when you see video games that that have a more violent standard than you, people want to fit in with that because it feels like the tougher you are, the cooler you can be. So I think there might be a little bit of a social standard pushing those.
There's always a social standard and stuff like that.
Yeah, there's a certain stigma about the situation itself.
Which that kind of draws it back to the thing Cole was saying is like, even if the person isn't more violent, or even if they are more violent, if violent people or non-violent people tend to play violent games more, it could be just the fact that they want to be cool, or it could be the fact that they tend to have bad home lives. I don't know, whatever it is. It could be a million different things.
It's hard to trace just one cause of the situation because there's a lot of unknown variables that can affect it.
Yes, especially when there are variables that you can't even define, like what makes a video game violent, and how, like, is it if you play the game one time you're considered like you're in the polling for playing it? Like, there's so many standards that aren't set, and I think that's why it's hard to make the studies. The more variables you add in, the harder it is to get an accurate testing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The number of after someone's talks is just amazing.
Well, yes.
Just yeah.
When a person says something and you hear 100 like a minute afterwards.
See, exactly, right there. So, after the I don't know. I don't know where I was going with that, to be honest with you.
I think this is just definitely more of a laid-back episode.
Yeah.
Kind of first time doing it all remotely.
Yes.
Yeah.
But I do think that the human psychology, even if it's not because of inherent violence, I feel like it's just more the desire to feel cool. Because there are a million, there's this trend now with like third-person shooter games. There's a million of them out there. And I feel like the main reason people play them is because they see all these YouTubers who are extremely good at them, and then they want to be like that. And it just so happens that the goal of the game is to kill other people. So then, cutting out if A equals B and B equals C and A must equal C, then people think that applies, and so that means they must want to be good at killing people. But the transitive theory can't always be applied to things like that.
Yeah.
Which I feel like a lot of people don't think about that.
Yeah, psychology really applies into almost everything that you can think of. It, like you said, it applies with your social life, how you act, how you think. Video games really comes in with the social life as well. I mean, this could, they tie together very well if you play your cards correctly.
Especially as like a video game maker, you can really appeal to the trends and make a popular game that comes out of nowhere.
Yep. Especially like with games like No Man's Sky. It was this crazy game that looked so good. It had amazing. The game looked astonishing, and then it turned out to be an unfinished beta.
Yeah.
To be fair, right now I actually have it. It is actually an amazing game at the moment, but people were disappointed
like at launch
about it on launch date.
At launch, it was disgusting.
Like the No Man's Sky. It's like the new Halo trailer. It looks awful. Have you seen it?
The new
Xbox. Really, it's atrocious. I feel like they turned away a lot of customers with that. Because it's such
like something you could play on the 360.
Yeah, it's something set to launch in holiday, and they said that yes, it's a really early build, but why would you show an early build of something that's coming out in a couple months?
Yeah.
And I just thought about this. There's, with the amount of technology that we have available to us, it's kind of hard to play something over and over again if it's always the same. So I think that's why you kind of see like Minecraft is more popular, Fortnite's popular. This like battle royale or open map games are more popular.
Yeah,
I think that's also why Destiny, because with Destiny 2, that's like the last one. like every year or so, they're just rolling out a new pack, which I think that's what big companies like game developers, I think that's their solution to that. Because the same game, they just add on a bunch of features like every year, and that's
Yeah.
what the new Halo game's doing, and that's what the next Forza game is doing.
And
I don't know
going back
about
to like
Sony.
open world betas, that's why GTA 5 did so well, because you could do so many things that you can't do. Like you would get caught for doing a Grand Theft Auto, which is stealing a car, and then you
Yeah.
can do cop chases. You can go to these crazy places, do crazy things. You can't do that now because obviously you're going to get arrested because that's illegal. That's why the game did so well, because you can do things that you can't do.
You can
Yeah,
go
I think
on impulse and just do whatever you wanted.
I
The
think
question is: are violent people dragged towards those games, or are people that play that game becoming violent?
well,
I think
That's
it applies
definitely-
How are they
both
trying to
ways.
sell the
I
game
think it's
to
a
new
two-way
players?
street.
Like maybe people who just can't show as much empathy towards it, they realize that is possible, and maybe that they become more violent, which is a possibility. I just
Yeah.
don't think that is as likely as violent people being drawn into these games.
Yeah.
I also think that the amount you play, if you can become violent because of lack of sleep playing any game. If you stay up too late, then you'll be more likely to be more violent. And then like with what I was saying with like these new types of games where everything is random, like each game that you start up will be completely different, and you'll probably never see another game exactly like it ever again.
Mhm.
And so I think that the notion that you're always going to get a different game kind of keeps people wanting it more and more. And so then I think that it might be the draw and why these games are so popular now. And then it'll also, like, if you're staying up all night, then you're naturally going to be more aggressive.
Of course, because if you're more tired, you are more susceptible to mood swings.
Yeah,
Sleep deprived and stuff.
yeah, sleep deprived teens.
Reminds me
Yeah.
of a Mythbusters episode, and we also watched a video on this in driving class. But just how like people who are overtired are actually more dangerous on the road than people who are drunk.
Yeah.
That just proves how much sleep can impact you mentally.
And like there are a lot of games that it seems like they just exist to like make you feel uncomfortable and be really gory, which that like people who enjoy playing that I can't reason with them, but like the games now, they're designed to be want to played, and people are getting good at figuring out what kids want. So even if you're like not necessarily aggressive, even if you just like that random feeling of you could be drawn to that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Even if you
And I
don't
feel
like
like also, yeah, if you see your friends playing the game, you'll want to play the game as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like peer pressured into playing certain types of game, and then you'll end up liking it or something.
Yeah.
At school, have you guys noticed the kids that tend to play those games more? Do you notice them being more aggressive?
Not really.
No.
Not really.
I have noticed this. The kids that play a lot of those games, they start to talk and act like the YouTubers and streamers that they see.
Yeah.
Well,
It's
they
like-
act.
I think, well, of course, because they're watching them constantly. They're
Right.
becoming
They
an
think they're
influence to them.
cool. They
When
wanna
you
be-
love something, you're probably gonna want to become a little bit like it. So, but it's a video game; it's not real. But you can definitely see there are changes that this game makes. Like when you play a game a lot and you watch people who play it or are good at it, you're gonna want to be like them. Video games can definitely make a change in you. I'm just not sure if they can make you more violent on their own.
Yeah.
It's sort of like
Yeah.
when the little kids watch Ninja playing Fortnite all the time, and then they all just act like him or whatever.
Which
Yeah.
this isn't even really a
Fortnite
new
dancing
topic.
in public.
Yeah.
Yes. This isn't even really a new thing. It's been around for hundreds of years. People see something good. You can look at it on a global scale. When something's working, people try to mimic it. It happens in basketball. It happens between nations. It happens on social media.
Yeah.
There's so many.
Monkey see, monkey do.
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
Right there.
Like the battle royales. Those sell.
Yeah.
They sell really well, and Fortnite really
It
opens the
makes a
door
lot
for
of
battle
money for a
royales.
free game.
It does.
Yeah.
And there are so
Everybody
many
wants to
ways
copy
make-
that. Everyone wants to make money for that, so they
Right.
hundreds of more copies.
It's
I
I
guess-
used to be able to find so many Minecraft knockoffs on the Google Play Store back in like 2012 or so
Yeah.
when it was
Like-
blowing up.
So I think that goes to show that humans are definitely influential. We can't act like video games don't do anything. But I guess the theory that I've come to is that you need a gateway, and then video games can push you, they can help encourage that mentality if it's there already. Like if
Yeah.
you're coming home from school and you're really mad and you just want to bully some kids online and then that gives you a way to do it instead of getting rid of your anger healthily, then that would obviously encourage violent behavior.
Yeah.
Those Xbox 360 chats were insane.
But then there's also a way of, let's say that the day does go wrong and you want to just mellow out. There's also other games that can help you just kind of relax
Yeah.
and calm yourself.
Right.
Yeah.
I think you definitely need that the violent mentality, I guess the word would be the violent conscience before, and then video games, depending on how you play them, could encourage that.
Yeah.
It's not like little Timmy, who's never heard a fly before, suddenly has bloodthirst because he played GTA 5 for 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. All right.
I think there's going to be a lot when you're editing this, and there's going to be a lot of like really
Random.
long silences,
Yeah.
and there's
Yes.
going to be at other situations where there's just a bunch of us talking over each other.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There seems to be a lot of those.
The delay isn't helping, I feel like.
Yeah.
No, it's not.
Mm.
And then I guess I'll start it back up again. There are the video games that people get worried about. It's like 20 of them out of millions of them. And so I think when people they see the loud minority and think it's the majority.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
I can definitely agree with that one.
And that's the way it is a lot.
They
It's like
see, yeah, they see
extreme.
a bunch of people out.
Not everything is bad. You have to look at both the good and the bad to
Right.
determine your opinion on something.
And
They
that's
see the big figureheads in the community and think everyone is just like them.
right.
Yeah.
And we don't like to know that there are things that we don't know. We like to draw conclusions. Even if they're wrong, we'd rather live in denial than live without knowing something. So it's easy to see one headline about a bad video game and assume that it's the whole thing. It's the same thing with social media. Extremity sells. You can hear one bad story and assume that every single case is like that. But there are anomalies. It's just that the anomalies get the most attention. Because people don't want to hear about racing games because there's nothing there. It's just a normal thing. They only care about the bad ones, the quote unquote bad ones, even if they're 0.1% of the games that are being played.
Mm-hmm.
Wow. Okay.
Another awkward silence.
That's
It's
number three.
That's another list.
That's number
Uh,
3.
Okay, I'll do another one.
Jack's carrying the conversation.
Jack is.
Yes.
I'm trying to get some questions to start a conversation.
I keep thinking of stuff and I don't know what they're called, and then I just don't say anything.
Yeah, I mean, you
The
can.
secret is I'm an introvert and I don't like continuing conversations. So
I hate starting conversations.
I feel like I'm talking way too much, and I don't want to talk as much as I have been, so I'm like trying to ease out from talking so much.
After the last one, I've been trying to talk more because I basically did nothing, so I'm trying to
I'm
talk
just
more.
trying to find a topic that we can like start a good conversation with. What about this one? Okay, I think I got one that's a little more personable. Have you guys noticed with the violent video games in our school? Do you notice? I feel like I've noticed a trend where the kids that play these addictive games tend to not do their homework and slip in class. Do you think,
Oh,
even if
yeah.
it's not a violence issue, do you think it's a individual issue or an addictive issue?
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. I don't really think video games cause violence, but they can get addicted to them. Like, I've heard stories of people skipping on homework, skipping school to play the video game.
Yes, exactly. Like, I feel like this is the bigger question that needs to be answered, especially with these big companies specifically designing games that are meant to be played a lot because they want the screen time. They want you to buy
Mhm.
from them.
Yeah,
I think now more than ever, it's more about the addictive factor and how that affects your real world life and
Yeah.
like doing homework. Have you guys noticed a trend with that?
I have. There's a bunch of people. It really doesn't matter the age either, which is how these video game companies keep making money, is because they find the younger group and they somehow find the older group, and they can just control them with this game that can question their schedules. Do I really want to do my homework? Nah, I can do it later at 1 o'clock in the morning. Lose some sleep, have a terrible next day, get angry, and then just rinse and repeat. Really.
Yep. And the
And
more time you sink into something, the more your brain will tell you that it's worth it.
That it's necessary.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Once you get used to it, it's hard to break that.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're tired and when you're not of the the learning mentality, when you're trying to just pass through the day, you tend to not get like I've seen kids who told me that they were up playing Fortnite all night. They'll be at school and they'll be sitting there for the entire lesson, but they wouldn't be able to tell you a complete sentence about what they learned in 40 minutes. It's just crazy, like how fast your mind can deteriorate when you're tired.
Yeah.
It's
Stay
kind
up
of
till
scary
4
when you
during
think
the
about
morning,
it.
wasting time. Come to school, waste some more time.
Yeah, I feel like this is a much scarier possibility than the violence thing. I feel like this could be the silent killer.
Yeah.
Something that should be paid attention to more, which is being under addressed.
Right.
Yep.
Because the video game's bad. Video game's bad.
And I will reason a lot of the kids, they just whine about the homework because it's homework, but there are some teachers that give a lot of homework, but the amount that they complain versus how much they should complain is too dramatic. Like, you might complain out of one every 100 assignments reasonably, but they're trying to complain about 50% of them.
Yeah.
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 That's the mindset. It's like you're trying to just get home so that you can play video games or catch up on your sleep or whatever. You're not trying to learn, even if it's social media or whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
It feels like we're focusing on the wrong things because these companies are designing their apps to want to be played a lot.
Teachers will tell you
They're designed to be addictive.
Yeah, teachers will tell you to get off your phone. You see it, teacher's distracted doing something else. Someone pulls it up, is on Instagram for 30 or so minutes, gets caught, and learns nothing.
Exactly.
And when one person sees someone on their phone, more people think, "Oh, I can do that as well," and then it can just cause a bunch of people losing, no longer paying attention in classes.
Right.
Yeah.
Which doesn't just affect you; it can affect the entire school.
Yeah. And I just think that there's this specific mindset that comes along with playing video games excessively, and it tends to correlate to not caring about school. You're not going to be hanging out with friends as much if you're staying up all night. So then your social life is deteriorating. It feels like every aspect deteriorates when you seclude yourself inside of a dark room for 12 hours.
Yeah, and it's not like people haven't seen this before. People have seen this before. That's why they make manageable apps to stop your child or someone from playing video games or stopping on the phone. My ideology is, though, that I don't really like them, because if I'm going to do something wrong, then I have to learn from it. And if I keep on doing it, then I should get what I deserve. That's just that's how I think. If I continue to do something stupid, then that's your own fault.
I would agree with you partially. I feel like with the parental control things, I feel like you should definitely have to suffer the consequences, and you should have to. Growing up is all about making wrong decisions, but I also feel like we're all we're all still children, and we're gonna make mistakes. And so sometimes, after you've already showed them this is what will happen, now let's try to prevent it. I think you should work with them to, even if you know that they're gonna try to do it again, trying to get them to not do it so you can show them what's right and what's wrong is also important.
Yeah, I can see that. But I mean, like I feel like this world really doesn't care how you think. If you're sad, you know, if you're not making money, then they don't care what you think.
Yeah.
That's just
That's
how that's how the world goes round, is money.
There's some kids that I've seen make the same wrong decision time and time and time again. It just makes me wonder, maybe I think that's really when it's up to the parents to decide when to draw the line. And I think sometimes the line is drawn too early and sometimes it's never drawn, and it should be.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like if a
So you're only seeing two extremes you're only seeing the two extremes in the situation, you're saying?
Yeah. Well, yeah, and that's the thing. Like, there are plenty of people who do it right, but the ones that with the issue are of the two extremes. The people who are fine with it, we don't have to talk about because they're not struggling.
Yeah, they can balance recreational and educational schedules.
I think it should be mentioned that most of the kids do their homework, or at least a good portion do their homework. It's not like this is a 99% of the class thing. It's like maybe 25%. It's, again, that loud majority. The problem speaks louder than the problems are louder than the peace. I don't know how to word it.
Quantity over quality, or quality over quantity. Something of those lines.
Yeah, something
along the lines of that. I think we get what you're getting at. We understand what you're saying.
Thank you. Yeah.
You're just drawn to see more of the people who are on one or the other side, and because you don't have a reason to be paying attention to the people in the middle.
Right. And I think I personally am one of the people in the middle. On school nights, I usually am in bed by 10 o'clock. I usually don't fall asleep with a controller in my hand. So it's like, I don't really focus on people like me that aren't struggling. I'm mainly just trying to think of the people who are struggling, which I think that is a little bit different than how the media handles the extreme. Because I'm not talking about factual things. I'm talking about my personal experiences. And I'm saying that there's a problem between this certain group of kids, where the media will say there's a problem with this entire group of kids because of this small few people. I would say there's a lot of people.
You get a better headline out of saying all kids.
Right. Which most of our kids now are fine. It's just that there is an issue that's big enough that needs to be dealt with.
Yeah. And with my family, I don't know if anyone else's family is like this, but we aren't even allowed to go on video games at all really during the week. We are Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, but besides that, we can't unless we don't have school or anything the next day.
Yeah, that's how we are too.
Which I think makes sense. At times I think, I don't agree with it, but I feel like overall I do agree with it. I just don't like to admit it.
Yeah.
Because it makes sense from a certain standpoint, because you're just limiting that time you have, but then you can do other things that can be possibly beneficial.
Right. And kind of wrapping it back around, it feels like there's a direct correlation with that situation. You have set rules. I feel like there's a correlation between kids that are just told to figure it out themselves. Maybe they don't have the greatest home life, whatever it is. I feel like that they tend to struggle more, and those, I lost my train of thought. I was gonna wrap this back around to the violence thing.
Sleep deprived people tend to make worse decisions, maybe.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because your partial reasoning skills can be.
Right. I had to study this for a whole essay last year. It's your prefrontal cortex and your part of your brain. That's the decision-making part, and it's not fully grown until you're at least 25. And so when you have 15-year-olds who are just sent out to make their own decisions, because maybe whatever the problem is, maybe they don't listen to their parents, maybe their parents aren't telling them what to do, I feel like that tends to make them more prone to violence, and they might choose video games as a way to vent that. And so maybe that's the correlation that we're seeing.
Mhm.
But I don't
Yeah.
think that it's the video games causing it. I feel like the video games help people express their violence in a better way than they would if they didn't have video games.
Right. It's better to take your anger out on a virtual character than like an actual person.
Right.
Yeah.
And whether
Either
playing it just so that whether they're doing it just to kind of cool down and get away from the real world, or whether they're actually angry and trying to vent, I don't know. But
Yeah. Yep.
In fact, the way that they make it seem is that those games, like everyone plays them, and everyone, which I feel like personally, I don't really enjoy playing them as much as I don't think any of us really play shooter games as much as the majority of other kids, or what is perceived by the media, the amount
yeah,
of kids that play those games.
we're not really a good mix here. We're all kind of in the same boat.
Yeah.
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 We're all a bunch of Minecraft and
But we do all have friends who are in that situation where they're kind of like addicted to the game.
Yeah.
And it has a
Yes.
noticeable effect on their grades, their sleep schedule. I've seen some kids just like know that they have an assignment and just choose not to do it. And I wonder how you can be okay with that, because like I wouldn't be able to sleep until I've gotten it done. I've stayed up. There was one Spanish project that I worked like 6 hours on, and it really made me mad because I got the same grade as someone who spent like 30 minutes on it, and I stayed up till like 2 in the morning. But it's like
Yeah.
it feels like there's a mentality there, and it tends the people who are addicted to these games that happen to be more violent. It's like there's so many factors that just seem to blend together. I don't think it's right to blame the game on itself. I think that the mentality of the kid and the video games that are made to be addictive and how the kid gets addicted to it, I think there's a whole long train there.
Yeah.
So you're saying that it shouldn't be the kids that are necessarily being to blame. It should also be the creators of the games themselves.
Well, I'm saying that it's not the games in and of themselves. It's millions of reasons that would lead to someone being more violent, that just so happens to play more violent games.
Yeah. And if you put it like that, then I guess you could say that a child is okay. This is going to be a strange analogy, but a child would be the stump of a tree, and the different things, the different reasons that someone chooses to do something. So someone chooses to play video games. Those are like the branches. So like,
All right. You're saying it can branch off in 1,000 different directions from one
yes,
scenario,
yeah.
from the base.
Mhm.
Right. You could even say it's the roots. Like there are all these different things in the ground, that all these different influences that you have that make you you.
Yeah.
And to blame one root is absurd.
Hmm.
Yeah.
I can agree with that.
Okay, I don't have anything else to say.
I'm good.
Yeah.
That was why. All right.
All right.
So thank you for watching Potato Tomato.